Okay, so both covers are off. I've been sort of peeling away with my fingernails to remove as much as possible. But there's still a lot there that is proving really stubborn. It's obviously where the original big dollops of glue were put. Historically, how I've kind of removed this is with just very sort of gentle scraping with a knife. I don't want to do that here. It's a very, very, very time-consuming process, and it is, to a point, destructive as well. One thing I have found in the past is that the inks that were used in this kind of manuscript as a whole are water-fast, which makes sense because obviously it was a waterborne glue that was used to stick this card down, and it didn't smudge the ink. The other thing is that the glues generally had a melting point that was a little bit below the boiling point of water. So in theory, if we could heat this, we might be able to peel off this remaining layer very, very gently, as opposed to doing aggressive scraping and without harming the ink underneath. So that's what we're going to give it a go with a domestic kettle. So we've moved into my kitchen here, and I'm just reheating some water there. My son's just having some breakfast behind me here, if you hear any sort of kitchen noises. What we're going to do is place these areas just in a stream of steam for a few seconds. It's really about, maybe 7 or 8 seconds, and what that will do is it'll be sufficient to really heat this area strongly, but it won't cause any distortion, at least I don't think it will, to the underlying manuscript here. So let's give it a go now. As you can see, the manuscript itself warps slightly from the heat, and then while it's still warm, yeah, that's what we're looking for. A really nice, easy removal. As you can see, there's no damage happening to the underlying. Yeah, that's what we want. So that's going to be the process to remove the rest of this in, I think, quite a harm-free way. This is actually quite nice and therapeutic to do. The trick is to get it while the glue is still soft, like so. The parchment will temporarily just warp a little bit while it's being heated. Don't be fazed by that. You can always just warp it back using a bit of further heat and pressure. There we go. That's what we're after. Look at that. It all just comes right off. Okay, so had some pretty significant lessons learned actually as I went through this. We're going to be fine, but just a lot to kind of communicate here. So this fragment here originally looked like this guy, but with more sort of paper debris glued onto the surface. I should also just talk about the color a little bit. This one looks darker. That's because parchment is translucent, and this was the front cover of the book, and the other side of this is really filthy. This is the back cover, and it's just not quite so filthy. So this shape we're looking at here is actually the grime on the other side showing through, which is why you get that slightly darker coloration. So once everything was going fine with sort of gently steaming and removing with the knife. All the paper was coming off very, very smoothly until I was almost done, when, without the tension of the paper and glue to actually hold the shape of the parchment started to warp and basically try and return to the shape it was when it was on the animal, and forget about the shape it had been inside a book, which accelerated. So what that forced me to do, and this is the big lesson learned, was to use a frame. And so what I've done here is I've actually pinned it out, and this has been through several cycles of steaming and stretching, and I'm going to continue to do this until it gets basically back to the fully flat shape. Honestly, this is something we have to do anyway, because remember, of course, there are folds here. This was actually folded over when it was bound to the book. This was folded down, this was folded up. So at some point you do need to frame it out and steam it to actually get rid of that, so that you get back to the sort of flat surface here. So that's going to continue, and in the process I'm also just going to remove these last vestiges of bits of paper that are here as well. I'll do that just very gently with the steaming, but as you can see, you know, we have this, you know, really quite beautiful sort of Latin Gothic type. This is I believe this is Isaiah 40. It goes Consolamini. So we'll look. Consolamini. Can't quite make that out. Meus. So I think that's actually part of Isaiah 40. So very, very beautiful. So I've just got the last remaining flecks to come off here, and I'll probably just remove this glue at the top here that I've been too lazy to do. And then I'll continue stretching and steaming and just pinning down these edges here that I haven't really given much attention to yet, until it just becomes comes flat like that. And then that'll be basically ready for display in a nice sort of hanging glass frame. So lesson learned is frame it out first. And so I've done that with this one. So this is the other cover. So you can clearly see we've got obviously the fold lines here, here and here. Large patches of paper that we're going to steam off. But critically, we've pinned it down to begin with. So even if it tries to sort of come in and sort of contract once steam is applied, it won't be able to. And message here is, don't remember, each pin needs to take quite a lot of force as it tries to contract. So, you know, obviously don't disrupt any of the actual text or anything, but use lots of pins around the edge, and that way each pin isn't taking too much force, and therefore you have less risk of the actual parchment tearing at that point. So, you know, use plenty as you go. So so what we're going to do now, we're going to steam this. That will cause these folds to relax. That may actually lead to us having to reset the pins and actually stretch this a little bit further. But additionally, what's going to happen is this will probably contract in here, or try to a little bit. So we may have a little bit of adjusting to do just to make sure everything basically stays in proportion. And hopefully we'll end up with a really nice, clean, I don't know, probably 700-year-old manuscript, I think, when all said and done. Okay, so kettle's just coming to the boil here. Background noise is there's actually a big storm outside, so some quite heavy rain, so you may hear that in the background as well. So, okay, here we go. So what we'll do, I'm going to start at the bottom here. Already I can see the parchment trying to contract a little bit here. But it can't warp because the pins won't let it. So now we can start removal. As you can see, this is actually quite a thick paper deposit, so it's going to need a second going at. It just gets through the heat needs to percolate through the paper, get to the glue underneath, and then we can just, there we go, like that. It all starts just to come off without any actual scraping needing to happen, which is exactly what we want. There we go, that's what we want to see. Just bit by bit. Because the glue underneath has melted, it comes away nice and easy. Like that. So this is going to be I guess a process. It'll take a little while. And as we do it, we'll be constantly resetting these pins, and just, it'll curl a little bit at the edge on the far side of the pins, but it'll never actually warp into the center, which was the problem we had. Let's have a go at this section up top. There we go. There we are. That's what we want to see. It all just comes off. You've basically gotten back the glue to its original basic liquid form, because it was a hot glue, and then all that paper comes off easy. So there we go, that's going to be the process. So I'm going to continue working at that. Oops. And there we go. I'll continue working at that, and then, but always keeping this, the shape of this just the way it needs to be. So, making good progress. We're about half done. I'll show you the top half here. The approach itself seems to be working really, really well. The pins are holding oh yeah, this is lovely. The pins are holding the manuscript in place, and just wanted to draw attention to, just look how beautiful that is up there. I just literally cleaned that just now. So just really, really gorgeous. This is going to look really nice when it's done. Ordinarily I like to have the phone facing away from me, because this is an anonymous channel, but on this occasion I think it's just easier if I have it right here, and then you can just watch with me as all this really old. You literally only have maybe 5 seconds or so before the glue sets again, and you have to re-steam. It's very patient work. Wow, but well worth it. And so much less worrisome and, you know, destructive, but bluntly, than any kind of sort of scraping or manual. There we go. It all just comes off, just because of the type of glue it was at the time. Okay, so the back cover, as you can see, it's under glass at the moment, sorry about the glare, is looking pretty good. It's just about as clean as I can get it. So it's laying flat at the moment, just under glass. And then I'm hoping, there's a little bit of humidity in it, and I'm hoping once that finally gets out, it may just lighten the shade as well. So that's the back cover. Here's the front cover. I'm still fighting a little bit to get it back to its original dimension. So what I'm trying to do here is I put an awful lot of pins in along this edge, like so. And what I'm going to do is steam it and then pull it down in this direction to hopefully get it back to its original, it's almost there, but its original kind of square sort of columns, like dead straight. It's not without risk. I don't want that tear to perpetuate along here, because that would be a disaster. And also there are all these sort of nicks and damage and bookworm holes and so on that it's picked up over the years. So I don't want any of those to propagate either, because I will be using quite a bit of force on this. So here goes. We'll put the phone back in its hole. And what I'm going to do is let the kettle do its job, and then apply quite a lot of force on it. And as the heat starts to make it give, stretch it. There we go. I can feel it happening now, even as it burns my thumb. And now, very quickly, pin it into the new dimension. And this is an iterative process, but I think I'm just about there now. Okay. That was a major lesson learned for me there. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of this sort of final steaming now it's pinned, just to get rid of these last bits. And then we'll declare things done with these two beautiful manuscripts. They'll go behind, they'll go in hanging frames. Just gonna sort of stretch that out one bit further as well. And then there we go. We'll be able to return to the restoration of the book.